You meet someone, and within seconds, something in you reacts. A tiny gesture, a careless tone, an expression you can't explain. Suddenly your chest tightens, your thoughts harden, and you think, I don't like this person. Nothing visible has happened, yet inside you, an entire storm begins. That moment is what Carl Jung would call a meeting with the shadow. We use the word triggered as if it were an insult, but to Jung it was a sacred invitation. A trigger is not weakness, it is revelation. It shows where the light of awareness has not yet reached. Every emotion carries a history. What upsets you today is rarely born in the present. It echoes from years of unfinished feelings, anger you swallowed, shame you disguised, love you never expressed. Someone's tone reminds you of a parent who never listened. A friend's success touches the wound of your own self-doubt. A stranger's arrogance mirrors a confidence you were punished for showing. The body remembers what the mind tries to forget. That's why you feel before you think. Jung wrote that what we call fate is often the unconscious trying to be seen. Your reactions are not random sparks. They are messages from the parts of you still waiting for recognition. When we were children, we learned quickly which qualities earned us love. Politeness earned smiles. Anger earned silence. Vulnerability earned confusion, so we built a mask to keep affection near and rejection far. The mask became our persona, the version of self that could survive. But the traits that didn't fit behind that mask never disappeared. They sank beneath consciousness, forming what Jung called the shadow self. It contains everything we deny: our rage, envy, lust, fear, even our brilliance. To appear good, we exiled the wild. To stay safe, we buried the true. The shadow is simply the sum of all those buried truths. And every time life presents a situation that resembles the original wound, the shadow rises to remind you that something important was never lived. You meet your shadow most clearly through projection. Whatever you strongly admire or despise in another person is a reflection of something within you. Think of the colleague whose arrogance infuriates you. Beneath that anger may live your own unclaimed confidence, the voice that once said, I can, and was told to be humble. The gossip you condemn may echo your own hunger for connection. The greed you ridicule may reveal your secret wish to be free from scarcity. We dislike in others what we fear in ourselves. And we praise in others what we have not yet allowed to bloom within us. When you catch yourself judging, pause and ask, what does this judgment protect me from seeing? Behind the irritation, there is information. When a trigger hits, the instinct is to defend, to explain, accuse, justify, escape. But every time you defend, you reinforce the mask. Instead, try to stay with the physical feeling. Notice where it lands in the body, throat, chest, stomach. Breathe into it. Do not analyze yet, just feel. That discomfort is the door. Behind it waits a younger self who was never heard. Maybe your anger protects a child who wasn't respected. Maybe your jealousy guards a dream that still wants to live. Maybe your sadness honors a loss you never grieved. When you listen long enough, the emotion softens. It transforms from heat to meaning. You realize the pain was never against you. It was for you. The next time someone triggers you, use these 3 questions. First, what exactly am I feeling right now? Name it honestly: anger, fear, humiliation, envy. Second, when was the first time I remember feeling this way? Follow the thread back to its origin. Third, what is this emotion asking from me now? Maybe forgiveness, maybe courage, maybe expression. Write what you discover. Jung believed that writing anchors the dialogue between conscious and unconscious. When ink meets paper, the unseen becomes visible. Do not censor. Do not fix grammar. Let the words bleed out. That is how the shadow begins to trust you again. Every painful feeling hides a power. Anger points toward violated boundaries. Envy points toward unlived potential. Fear sharpens intuition. Shame shows where you long for integrity. When you treat emotions as information instead of enemies, they become allies of awareness. The shadow is not a demon. It is a guardian who once protected you through suppression. When you finally listen, it puts down its weapons. Integration begins the moment you stop running from yourself. Love is the most honest mirror. Romantic partners and close friends trigger us because they stand nearest to the places we hide. When a partner's tone cuts deep, it is rarely about this conversation. It is the echo of a voice from long ago. Instead of shouting or withdrawing, try whispering inwardly, "Why does this hurt so much?" If both people practice that kind of self-inquiry, conflict becomes transformation. Every argument becomes a doorway back to authenticity. Two conscious individuals can turn friction into fire, not the fire that burns, but the fire that forges. Until awareness enters, the unconscious repeats itself endlessly. You will meet the same personality in different faces, fight the same battle under new circumstances, until you learn the lesson behind the emotion. That is not punishment, it is precision. Life keeps recreating the scene you refuse to understand. When you finally recognize the pattern, the energy tied to it is released. What used to exhaust you becomes clarity. The same law governs nations and groups. Every culture projects what it will not own. We glorify progress but repress compassion. We worship success but despise vulnerability. The result is moral confusion on a massive scale, a collective shadow that erupts as hatred, division, and war. Jung warned that when the individual refuses inner work, the world must act out the conflict for him. Healing society begins with healing the self. Each person who faces their shadow reduces the darkness of the whole. One conscious human is a candle, 10,000 become a dawn. With time, something subtle changes. The same situations still happen, but you respond differently. The pause between stimulus and reaction grows longer. You start hearing the shadows whisper before it screams. You realize that peace was never the absence of triggers, it was the presence of understanding. Individuation, the process Jung called the unfolding of the self, is not about becoming perfect. It is about becoming real. The conscious self and the shadow self stop being enemies and start being partners. Together they form a personality that is whole, capable of compassion because it knows its own darkness. Think of someone who recently upset you. Replay the moment slowly, but without judgment. Notice what emotion rises first. Ask quietly, what is this really about? Maybe the person only lit a flame that had been waiting years for oxygen. What would happen if you thanked the trigger for showing you where you still hide? That single act turns reaction into awareness. As consciousness expands, projection retracts. You stop needing enemies to define you. You stop seeking saviors to complete you. You see others not as symbols of your wounds but as fellow travelers carrying their own. Compassion replaces control. That is the beginning of inner freedom. You no longer chase peace, you become it. So when someone irritates you, pause before judgment. Behind the irritation lies information. Behind the discomfort lies direction. Behind every shadow lies light, waiting to be claimed. The shadow is not trying to hurt you. It is trying to come home. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Carl Jung's words are not merely psychological, they are spiritual instructions for daily life. They remind us that self-knowledge is not an idea, it is a relationship between the parts of us we love and the parts we fear to see. This is the forbidden shield. May this reflection guide you inward, where every trigger becomes a teacher, and every teacher leads you home.